So hello traders, welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm going to share with you something very interesting. We're living in the age of artificial intelligence, and there's the famous quote that whoever does not know how to use AI will be replaced not by AI itself but by someone who knows how to use AI. So ever since the invention of ChatGPT, to be specific, we've seen other large language models coming up, and as a trader, specifically on the retail side, you should really be cautious to understand how you can be able to incorporate artificial intelligence in your trading, because by the end of the day, trading is all about data, understanding how data works, which patterns you can generate from the data that you have collected. So today I'm going to share with you one simple aspect of how you can use AI to your trading. This is an element which can really help you improve. But at the same time, I'd love to give some precaution, because I feel like it still can't work, at least from my understanding and from how I've used it, my experience. I'd say that these things can't really work again if you still don't have a good understanding of markets. For example, if you don't have a methodology that you normally follow to trade, it's quite hard to work hand in hand with artificial intelligence. However, if you have figured out a methodology, you have a process that you can use, and you have data around the process, it becomes very interesting. So there are very many ways you can use artificial intelligence in your trading, from analysis to looking at your previous data, backtest data, and even looking at your forward data, that is your forward test data. Now, to be specific, in this video I'm going to look at backtest data. So we're going to look at what really happens if you put in your data into ChatGPT. How will ChatGPT guide you? What patterns will it observe? And remember, you also have to be very good at prompting the right things. Like, for example, if your prompts are not insightful or intriguing, it might be quite hard for you to come up with something. I remember, like for me, when the year started, that's when we started using it actually. I keyed in all my 2024 trades into ChatGPT, told it to analyze it and come up with specific insights on what it thinks I can do to improve. And I have a whole folder of recommendations from ChatGPT, including avoid some markets, avoid some behaviors, do this more, do this less, focus here, don't do this. And that's what generally you need to improve. So think of this as a team player, or someone who's helping you succeed in the markets, and more specifically someone who's very quick, doesn't have much errors, and can really do a lot of work in a very short time. So it can really cover much work in a short time. For example, if I was to manually analyze my data like how I did the previous years, one, I wouldn't have as many insights as ChatGPT generated. Two, I wouldn't be able to do it as quickly as it did, because you just feed it the data, and in an hour or less, you'll have, not even in an hour, in a minute or less, you will have your data well laid out, and you can be able to understand precisely what you need to work on. So it really makes things efficient, and for traders, this is something very helpful. So to start off, again, this is only recommended for those guys who have paid for the upgraded version. If you're using the previous versions, which are generally the free versions, I don't think you'll have much help, because you'll find that generally once you pay for the premium version, that's when most of these features become quite available, at least in my experience, again, because once we go back to the free model, it doesn't work as good as the paid version. So you can come here, select all this data. So like, this is data for my trading since 2019. Just pick Command C and then pass it along to your ChatGPT, the upgraded version, copy and paste. So just upload everything. So it will take some time, probably some few seconds for it to upload. So yeah, the data is now uploaded. Then just write, you could do it at the start or at the end of the prompt. So you could come in, So and write, this is my gold backtest data, analyze it and generate insights on my forward trading. Then you can click press, so it will automatically start moving. Okay, so very quickly it will tell you that it's reasoning. So you see it will take some time to crunch through the data and come up with insights, as you can see on the screen. So it's just taking some time. Yeah, so there it is. And you see it generally tells you this is what you have. Like for example, it tells you this is a performance review of your backtest data spanning these times, along with practical insights you can use to inform your forward trading. Performance at a glance tells you the trade count, win rate, so it tells you how many trades you have, how many, probability, starting, ending balance, net profit. The risk reward profile, it tells you what is your R multiple. You see where your losses normally hover around. Long versus short trades, it tells you, you profited both buying and selling. This suggests your method adapts to gold price. The losing trades occurred on both sides. Okay, trade durations, it tells you how long typically you stay in a trade. Like for me, I remember one of the very insightful things was all my winning trades tended to end up very quickly. Like within 2 days, the trade was over. But my losing trades tended to last longer than the winning trades. So trade durations, it tells you observations and key takeaways. For example, it tells you you're very good at consistent stop loss discipline. Now remember, this is the back test. So if it was the forward test, probably it will tell you something different. Probably you move your stops, or probably you don't honor your stops. Tells you make much of your money from multi-day trend captures. So even as you go to trade, you're trying to look for those big winning days. It tells you this is a stable strategy across different market conditions. So it looks at, 2019 was slow, but 2020 we had some volatility coming back, but you still had some consistency. That tells you that your system works across the different market conditions, or at least does not get heavily interfered by a change in market conditions. Now, if you do that for your forward test, probably it might tell you between this time and this time you did very well, but between this time and this time you didn't do well. Probably when the volatility peaked, when you were forward trading, your emotions spiked up rather than being stable and consistent, which is a behavioral trait that you will need to work on as a trader rather than changing the market conditions or something of the sort. So at least it tells you you're making money from both buy and sell positions. You're not inclined to one specific side. It tells you keep the trend following course. So given the highest returns come from this, continue to emphasize, a breakout trend following approach. Okay. Remain agile to close positions quickly which are losing. Tighten your risk management. Strict stops are working. So as you move forward, keep your stop loss discipline intact. Now you see, that's something that's very crucial as you plan your future trading, to know that if I keep on interfering with my stops, I won't get the same results that I got from the previous data that I collected. Okay. In terms of higher volatility, consider scaling size. So using wider stops and then probably even reducing your size. Optimize with partial profit taking. So it tells you, some trades significantly exceed 2R, So it's important for you to lock in some gains there and then trail a stop rather than just locking out everything, since it's observed already that the markets are likely to continue moving higher. When you exit, you can stay a little bit longer. And then it accesses the different market regimes, it reviews losses for common triggers, and you stay nimble with your sizing. So your backtest suggests a successful trend capturing approach with disciplined risk. Going forward, the key is to preserve these strengths, So keep doing this, keep doing that. Now I can even come and tell you to probably give me more. So probably let's just give one example. Share the behavior of winning trades. Not share, but analyze. Analyze the behavior of winning trades, and it will do that analysis. So it will segment and it will focus on what do winners typically do. Do they have a lot of momentum? Do they end quickly? What generally happens when you're winning? what generally happens when you're losing. So it will analyze the behavior of winning trades and tell you specifically this and this is likely to happen, this and this is not likely to happen. So waiting for it to analyze. Okay, so you can see it takes some time. So what I normally do is I work hand in hand with it. So with my forward test data, I do the same, and I'll do that for a second video. I just wanted to focus on specific stages and how you can use it, not just do everything once. And on one side, you'll realize, you see high level stats of winning trades, what is your win rate. Consistency in winning is likely driven by tight stop losses. Most winners fit at least 2-1. Significant subset exceeded 3 or 4, even 4-1. Directional flexibility, trade duration, while some winners closed within the day, often took multiple days or up to a week to fully mature. Common winning patterns, many big winners occurred when gold broke a significant level. Your entries frequently aligned with clear momentum shifts, and you stay with the trend at least slows near your target. Disciplined stop placement, and you'd see some themes are recurring. Like, for example, you can see clearly that it tells me the fact that you adhere to your stops really helps for you not to lose, because you always lose 1 hour on the losing side, but when you're making money, you could even make way more. Okay, adaptive to volatility, and it has still partial or full take profit. So practical insights, keep letting winners run, continue strict control, and watch out for breakout confirmation. Now, for example, that tells me that I tend to do well when momentum is facing one particular direction, and that would mean that I would really focus on trying to look for momentum coming into the market rather than doing mean reversion, for example, which is something that I've observed I'm not very good at doing, or I've not really mastered that style of trading, or it just doesn't adhere to the process and method that I use. So that's one example of how you can use ChatGPT in your trading. We talked about this in the previous event that we had with Pepperstone, and guys were really intrigued. In fact, we've received very many questions in line with the same, and I decided I'll just share with you a video which you can use as a reference point again to understand. So, but again, like I said when I was starting, you can see this is not open to probably a novice or a beginner. So, for example, if you don't know what a breakout is, if you have not collected data, if you have not understood even how to analyze the data, how to collect the data, then you have no hope, okay? Because basically you don't have the right data to feed it, and also if you collect the wrong data, then you still don't have hope. In fact, you're even mixing yourself up more. But if you have the right processes of collecting data and you pay attention to the data that you collect and you feed it to ChatGPT, trust me, you'll love it. One of the things that I'm very, very interested in nowadays is how I can use it in very many other things, but I've really loved using it in my trading. So I normally look at how it can help me to improve. I feed it data, it tells me. So the next video that I'll do, I'll share with you the insights that it gave me from my 2024 data. Where did large losses occur? Where did large wins occur? What can I do to keep on making money? What do I need to stop for me to keep money? All that. And I think that's what generally as traders we're trying to look for, ways to consistently and constantly improve our trading. So with that said, I'll stop there. We'll catch up next time in the next video, and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.